and welcome everybody to the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe. Joining me today is my good friend Danny O'Connor, our Franklin County recorder. Thank you, Danny, for coming out today. I appreciate you taking some time to talk with us. I got a lot of information today, but we're going to start it off with you. Again, thanks for coming today.
Awesome. Thanks, Mayor Joe. It's great to be here.
Big question is that I always try and talk about. Obviously, COVID is a big issue here. So, what's kind of brought you joy? What's kind of gotten you through the COVID stages over the last the last year now, it seems.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing we have a baby on the way. So that's coming up in about 9 weeks. My wife's pregnant and she's 31 weeks pregnant right now. So that's given us a lot of excitement. But in terms of, joy and keeping busy, I've spent obviously a lot of time dealing with the challenges of running my office. We had our busiest year we've ever had this past year, and we had to do a lot of that with about 80 to 90% of our staff working from home. But in terms of personal stuff, I love being outdoors. Anybody who knows me or follows me on any social media medium knows that I love to hunt and to fish and to garden and do as much as I can outside. So I'm probably going to take the dogs for a really long walk today now that we've got a balmy 53 degrees out there. I saw a guy walking
in Ohio,
Yeah. I live here in Clintonville, and I saw a guy walking down the street on High Street about a bit ago with his shirt off. So, people are starting to get outside and thaw out, but, just getting outside. I know Reynoldsburg has just a great tomato festival with a bunch of fantastic acts every year, and a lot of great vendors and local businesses get involved. And so, I love to grow tomatoes. San Marzanos, are some of my favorite ones, but anything outdoors, man, anything I can do outside, I'll do.
That sounds about right. So tell me about your position. So I'm not sure everybody understands exactly what a recorder does.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell everybody who's watching what a recorder does for Franklin
Yeah.
County?
So most of you think about the recorder might think of the woodwind instrument that you learned how to play when you were in the 3rd or the 4th grade. But what we do is really, we're kind of the basis for every bit of property that happens in Franklin County. We're the largest recorder's office in the state. We basically, whenever you buy a home and you have a deed or a title to that home, we record that for safekeeping and for chain of title. Whenever you have a mortgage or when you pay that mortgage off and you get that release of mortgage, we record those things so that your situation with your lender is kept up to speed and kept in good shape. And so, being the busiest office in the state of Ohio, we're really proud of the work that we do. We operate basically on what we call a same-day basis right now, which means if someone who's out there listening right now buys a home today at 12:02 p.m. on February 24th, that document, all those documents should be recorded maybe by the end of the day or tomorrow first thing in the morning. And that quick turnaround time, A, it's good government. It's you getting good value for your tax dollars. But B, it allows for that process to run very, very smoothly. And a lot of the attorneys and real estate agents, folks who work in the title industry, know that. And I want as many homeowners to know that as well, that they have a partner in my office who's really committed to doing things right. And then we do some stuff for veterans. We issue veteran ID cards. So if you're someone who served our country in the military, you can get a free veteran ID card. You'll get it on a same-day basis from my office. We spend time out in the community. We've spent time at football games, at Columbus Crew games, at Blue Jackets games, offering that service to veterans where they come say hi to us and they're walking away with a veteran ID card after about 10 to 15 minutes. And we really enjoy that program. And there's a bunch of other stuff we do. We are one of the largest, we're the largest recorder's office in terms of contributing to the Low Income Housing Trust Fund. We kicked $7.7 million into the Low Income Housing Trust Fund this past year. That's money that serves such a critical need in terms of whether it's folks getting back on their feet after suffering from addiction, whether it's folks who, suffered economically through this COVID crisis, whether it's folks who, in fact, Ohio's economy is not great. It hasn't been for a while. And having funds like that allow for folks to just keep things moving forward for them and their families.
Well, especially, you look at what we always hear in Reynoldsburg is, the ideas of a housing crisis. Especially affordable housing.
Absolutely.
We've been very lucky that we're going to have a lot of development to address some of those needs, but affordable housing is key. And I was unaware that your office had that much of a contribution. So
Yeah, we're proud of that. It's a great thing that we were able to do.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, as far as Reynoldsburg, I know you mentioned things specific. Reynoldsburg falls under 3 different counties and things like that. But for Franklin County, so if I needed to come and find something, is most of your stuff available online?
Yeah. So
non-COVID world, I'm sure they could come in, but
yeah, everything's available online. And if you do want to search our records room, you just have to make an appointment with my office, and we can ensure that you're able to do that and do it in a socially distant manner. But every housing document is online. And that's an important question that I'm glad you asked, because sometimes you'll get something in the mail that says, oh, for $89, you can get all your housing documents. You can get a copy of your deed, a copy of your mortgage, all that stuff. Well, that's for free on my website. And so if you go to my website, Franklin County Recorder Danny O'Connor, just Google it, you'll see the online function, and it's very, very easy to access. You can create an account, or you can log in as a guest to get everything that you need. But, having those documents is a powerful thing. It's good to know, who owns your mortgage. It's good to know, anything that might have been filed on your home, and that's all publicly available in our office.
That's good, especially in this age. I know we're trying to, one of our big initiatives this year is sustainability. So we're trying to eliminate as much paper as we can. I still think teachers have more paper than anyone in the government, but it's a very close match. It's a really close match all the way across. So anything we can do to eliminate it would be a good thing.
Absolutely.
Now, looking forward to the next few years, other than COVID, what do you think some of the biggest challenges to your office is going to be? I mean, what are you looking to improve on, or what may come up in just a few years?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's technology. We're in the process of, or we have completed the process of allowing for deeds to be e-recorded, which, if you love good government, is really exciting. If you don't love good government, you might say, well, how does that impact me? That just allows for things to be done in a much more efficient manner, which in the end can save money for homeowners. It can save money for small businesses. So continuing to be on the cutting edge of things from a technological standpoint is important. And then continuing to do as much as we can for the vulnerable in our society. A couple of years ago, we started a program that allows us to record birth certificates for individuals who are kind of on the fringes of our society. And the reason we did that is, if you're someone who is looking to obtain public, some type of funded housing, when you get to the front of that proverbial line to obtain that housing, the entity that you're working with might ask you for a birth certificate. And if you're someone who's been living, with homelessness or with extreme poverty, it's going to be hard to hold on to those documents. Well, social workers can work with my office to record those documents in an offline manner. They're not searchable online. And then when it's time for an individual to obtain that housing, we can transition those documents back to their social worker, so that they're right at the front of the line. They have everything that they need. And one thing that we found is that that's a service that can be helpful for victims of domestic violence too. A lot of times an abuser will damage documents or withhold documents so that a person can't get out from under their thumb. Well, we offer a service that can help someone if they're planning to leave an abusive spouse or partner or boyfriend or girlfriend. So continuing to be involved in issues like that is something that's very, very important to me. There are a lot of people who need help in a lot of different ways in our county, and we're willing to step in any way possible.
Yeah, actually, our friend Chris Shook, our city attorney, when COVID was first coming out and they talked about, kind of going on the lockdown, we had that conversation about how we may see an increase. We may see a decrease in certain things, but we would see an increase in domestic violence. And unfortunately, that has been true. I know that, we're working with some state officials on some different programming. And this would be something that we can kind of add to our repertoire to help people in that particular situation. So again, great information.
And another thing, on the domestic abuse front, we've talked about pushing for a bill that would allow for recorders at request to redact individuals' information. And we would have to work with the auditor on that. We might have to wait for legislation on that, but anyone who knows me knows that the General Assembly doesn't always do stuff, I think, to advance the interests of Ohioans. And so if we need to do something, on our own there, we might just do something. So that's something to keep an eye out for.
You and me both on that one.
Yeah.
So this is always the fun time. Every time we always ask if there's anyone who's watching has any questions. Nothing right now. All right. So they may come in. I'd love for you to stick around for a little bit and tell you, so you kind of hear what I'm talking to the community about and some good things coming up and all that. But obviously, if you're busy, you're more than welcome to go ahead and log off. And we thank you for being here, but love to have you stay on for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'll absolutely stick around for a bit.
All right, so for the rest of you out there, we've got some great things. Obviously, spring is in the air, as you saw. So we've got spring soccer, softball, and baseball are all getting teed up and ready to get moving here in the not too distant future. Coaches clinics are coming up very soon. So I know it's going to be great to get the kids out there. Danny, you mentioned the Tomato Festival. Over the last week and a half, we've kind of announced our big musical guests for the highlights. We have a group called the Land Sharks coming in on Thursday, August 12th. They're kind of a Jimmy Buffett, Margaritaville type band. Probably going to have some margaritas here in Reynoldsburg that night. On Friday night, the 13th, we've got the band Survivor with the big hits, Eye of the Tiger, obviously. And for those of you that watch Cobra Kai, you got the Moment of Truth in there as well. You got some nostalgia from the 80s. And I'm really excited about Saturday night's performance. We've got Arrested Development. That's going to be a great show. If you want to look on YouTube, you can see some of their performances. They're just an absolute great stage act, and they're going to be here on that Saturday night. So we're really looking forward to it. I hope you can make it out there for that one, Danny. That'd be a fun show all the way around, unless you're too busy, dealing with child number 2. So
yeah.
We've got our next Tomato Festival committee meeting on the 2nd of March at 7 p.m. Some of the good things that we're going to be talking about is we've got some really good details on our tomato wars. Basically, Danny, that means that you get people together and you get some tomatoes and you get to throw them at each other. And it's a really great thing. We did it the first time in 2019 and it was a really good show. So I think we're going to make some improvements on that one. We'll have the car show, a pageant. We're going to have our annual police and firefighter competition. We don't know if it's going to be kickball, softball, or something else, but I'm pretty sure each of our respective departments are going to say that they're going to win. And there will be bragging rights on the line for the police and the fire department. We're going to have a 5K, and then we're also going to have something new this year. We're looking to have a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, partnering with our YMCA right next door. Just something else to get done. And again, I'm living in a world where we don't have to deal with COVID in the summer. I mean, there's going to be restrictions, yes, but we're going to plow through and see what we can get done. Then we have 2 things that are kind of close to my heart. First one is the pizza challenge. Basically we're going to find out who has the best pizza in the Reynoldsburg area. It's always a fun thing to figure that one out. We've had different winners every year, everything from some of the national chains that are out there to our local mom and pop shops. We also have a salsa contest that we did a couple of years ago, which is really good. You've got mild salsa, and then you've got the one where you see people running away from the tent afterwards looking for the fire hose. So a couple of different options there. We do have our code enforcement town hall meeting on March 11th at 7 p.m. Our code enforcers are going to join us and talk about how code enforcement is going to be impacting them this year. Danny, that was one of my big initiatives last year. There was only so many things we could do, but one thing that we really could attend to is trying to help our community improve aesthetically. There are a lot of things that can be improved in our residential areas and our business communities. We were actually able to partner with some of our nonprofits and local churches. So for an instance, we had an individual who was elderly, but was unable to kind of keep up with the landscape and some of the other things. So some of these other nonprofits and the city partnered, and we went out and we helped clear up their house, and maybe even a couple of them did some basic repairs, took some hazardous materials to the center and things like that. But it's not just a punitive thing; it's also to kind of help some of our community members just beautify a little bit all the way across. So it's a big thing. We've got that one. We do have a lot of blessing boxes located in Reynoldsburg. There's actually a Facebook page you can look at it. Unfortunately, the need is very great. Even though we have a great food pantries in Heart and Helping Hands, sometimes a little bit extra is there. So we have one in front of City Hall, but if you hop onto Facebook, Reynoldsburg blessing boxes, you can get a list of everything that's there. Most importantly for donations, not everybody is going to be on Facebook, but if you have the opportunity to put some of the donations in there, those non-perishable items, that would be perfect. We do have a community commission update for you. The Welcoming and Diversity Committee that we established actually has a statement that I'm going to read here today in recognition of Black History Month. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. The month of February marks Black History Month, when our country celebrates the generations of Black Americans whose courage, advocacy, and patriotism have enriched our communities and strengthened our democracy. It is also important to recognize the racial and social injustices that Black people have previously and continue to endure. Yet despite these injustices, Black people continue to contribute tremendously in significant ways that make our country diversely beautiful. Please find a couple of links that you'll see on our Facebook page later in the day for material that can educate and honor the history of the Black community. And a great quote from Amanda Gorman: "And the only way to fail is not to learn from the journey. And the only way to triumph is to share what we know to be true." Having spent a number of years teaching in Columbus City schools, the idea of Black History Month is very important to me. I tended to teach it, all the year long, not necessarily specifically just in February, but the opportunity to recognize February as how important that is great. This is not the first thing that the Welcoming and Diversity Committee is going to do. Next month is Women's History Month, so we may have some guest appearances from some women who have made a difference, not only in the Reynoldsburg community, but Central Ohio in general. So I hope that you're able to join us as we kind of move forward and recognize some of the achievements of women in the community as well. As far as a development update, some of you asked, obviously, the Kmart location is sold to the Alliance. And some of you asked, what was going on last week over at the Alliance? They actually brought families in. So we know that a number of families are going to be moving in to the Reynoldsburg area and living in here as they work at the Alliance Group down at the Kmart facility. So we actually had families coming in, and the city was able to take a few of them on a tour. We talked about some of the different housing opportunities they have. We talked about the community in Reynoldsburg and what it has to offer as far as our school district, our parks. We also talked a lot about our connections to the airport, access to 70 and 270, the Ohio State University. Got my Buckeye pride on today. We also have talked about COSI and the Columbus Zoo, and just how wonderful an area Central Ohio is and what it can bring to these families that are coming in. They had a chance to meet with other members of their church that already is in existence here in Reynoldsburg, and they got hot chocolate and coffee and things like that on that cold winter day last week. So that was great to have them come in. I'm going to have our development director, Andrew Bauscher, on in March to talk about development, specifically residential and commercial. There's always a lot of good conversations about development that's going on, what's going on Wagner Road or Rose Hill and things like that. So we're going to kind of talk about what that process is. How much control does the city have versus not? How do we guide things? How do we encourage people to come here? Things like that. Always good information to kind of get out to the community so they're aware of some things. Our next fireside chat is 1 week from today on March 3rd. Can you believe it? It's already March. We're going to have Reynoldsburg City Code Enforcer William DeLong on. William DeLong is one of our top code enforcers. He's actually one of the few that's certified in the state of Ohio to be a code enforcer. So he's going to come out and talk about some of the things that he looks for, and really to kind of humanize the process. It's not just somebody coming in and putting a sticker on your door saying cut your grass. There's more to it than that, of course. We're also going to be welcoming back our Reynoldsburg High School students, or Reynoldsburg City School students, in the next couple of weeks. On March 15th, everybody's coming back in. So I'm going to let you know now, please be aware that when buses are traveling really busy areas, do not pass them when the stop sign is out there. I see it at times. There are certain roads that are not passing lanes, especially if you're looking at Rose Hill Road in front of the elementary school, or if you're looking at Taylor Road. That center lane is not a pass lane. You don't know how many kids are going to be walking to school. You don't want to be passing buses. And Reynoldsburg Police Department will be out in those days, especially in the first couple of weeks, to remind everybody that they need to drive carefully and cautiously when all of that's going on. I'm also going to talk a little bit about school testing. I'm not going to go off on my usual long rant about it, but the Reynoldsburg City School Board, along with Worthington and a few others, have actually sent resolutions into the State House advocating to not have state testing this year due to the difficulties with testing, the environment, getting kids back into the building. And the reality is, how much are they actually going to achieve in testing? I spent my entire teaching career teaching a tested subject, 10th grade US history. It started with the Ohio graduation test and then moved into the air test and all of that stuff. So testing is not an issue that I had a problem with. I had no issues preparing my students for it. And I don't think any teacher has any issues with that. The reality is our kids have gone through something that none of us could even possibly imagine. Some of us are not even in school on a daily basis. Others have been in only a couple of times a week. And by the time these tests come out to judge things, it's going to tell us what we already know. Our students are not struggling, but they just have not had the opportunity to get educated in the way that they traditionally would. And I think it's a waste of time because now all of a sudden, when you have all of these schools going back in, you're going to tell me that the best measure of a student is going to be to go ahead and take the time that they could be learning and actually take a week or two of them to test. I think that is not in the best interest of students. I think the teachers know what students need help and will make the changes to help them as they improve. So I do encourage those of you that know your state representatives to go ahead and send information out to them and let them know your thoughts on the subject. Again, it's one of those things that is important to me. Testing next year when everybody's back in 5 days, bring it. Teachers will be ready for it. Kids will be ready for it. This year, I just don't know what it's going to tell you. So I could go on for about an hour and a half on that topic, but I'm going to go ahead and stop with that right now. Do we have any questions so far? No. Wow, Danny, you and I have we have escaped the gauntlet today. I'm impressed. That doesn't happen often on the show. Again, reminder to everybody, the State of the City is tomorrow night. It's at 7 p.m. It'll be broadcast live on the Facebook page and eventually uploaded to our YouTube channel after that. I won't be taking questions like I would normally do on the 12 o'clock show, but I will, if you do have questions, comments, we will be monitoring the social media feed, and I will get back to you personally after the State of the City with all of that stuff. Normally, last year, it was a great opportunity to have members of the community come in. We had Congresswoman Beatty was with us. And it was a great time to not only talk about the city, where we've been, and most importantly, where we're going, but it was great to talk with people afterwards. So I'm going to miss that part of it this year, but at least in a virtual way, we will definitely get everybody the information with it. With that, I want to again thank Danny O'Connor, Franklin County Recorder, for coming in and spending some time with us today. It was great to have you here. Some great information about what your office is doing.
Absolutely.
Wish you best of luck for you and your staff. I know you guys are hard at work in an odd world of being at home and there all the way across. And we got a question. Yep, we got a. I knew that always. I keep talking. We get the question.
We're not going to let Danny get off that easy.
All right.
We had a question from the community. It says, what kind of education background is useful for someone interested in a career at the county recorder's office?
So it really varies. I mean, we generally want to require at least a high school degree, but we recognize that experience can come in many different ways. You don't have to have an advanced degree to work, for our office. You don't have to have a college degree to work for our office. We need people who are punctual, who are committed to our goals of public service, who are committed to serving everyone in this county. We've had a great time kind of shaping the culture of our office in the 4 years that I've been there. And we've had a lot of success identifying really talented people who are committed to working for everyone in Franklin County. So it's an open book. You can be someone who's obtained a GED. You could be someone who's worked to advance your education in a myriad of different ways. And as long as you're, committed and capable and qualified, we're willing to take a look at you.
It's a great question. I appreciate that.
It was a good question. Yeah.
That's it for right now until I say something else, and then another question will come in, which is perfectly fine. It just usually happens that way. So with that, again, I just want everybody out there to stay safe and respectful. Make sure that if you're out and about, try not to litter. I was walking up and down Main Street the other day, and I know that sometimes it's easier when things just happen to fall off, things like that, but you want to make sure you pick up the litter. And then obviously, most importantly, Danny, one of my biggest pet peeves is people who don't put their shopping carts away when they're done shopping. It drives me nuts. So just always make sure you put your shopping carts away. Again, thank you, Danny. I appreciate it. Best of luck to you as you go on.
Thank you, Mayor. Yep.
That's a little one. Everybody else have a great day. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.